Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Let's talk about guys' biggest mistake when dating and courting and looking for a woman. So guys, in this social media era, I see a lot of dating coaches on YouTube talking about picking up like nines and tens and living as a bachelor and working on your game and your charisma and going out and things of this nature. And I'm not saying that that's a bad way to live, right? For the time being, for a little while. But to be fair, I think a lot of guys get really overly obsessed about looks. And attraction is something that you obviously need in a relationship, but I think on the male side of the equation, it's very overemphasized. Like, hey, like, a lot of like pickup artists and dating coaches are always like talking about how to pick up the hottest like nines and tens you see in your major cities, right? And how to hit on girls at nightclubs and bars and everything. And I'm not saying that that's a bad idea or that's gonna necessarily lead to things not going well, right, for you. But one thing I can say is that attraction, typically girls who are like nines and tens are not necessarily going to be the best for a relationship, right? And if your goal is to go out and hook up, that's great, that's awesome. But I honestly think that that's a dead end, right? Like that eventually is going to get old and you're going to be like, okay, like once you get to a certain age, I feel like once you're like past like your 30s and, moving into your 40s, I feel like once you get to that point, it's like, okay, like I'm hooking up, I've hooked up with hundreds of girls, right? I'm doing this weekend thing at nightclubs, at bars, at malls, right? Wherever I'm going, talking to these pretty girls, right? And I'm doing it over and over again, but there's no end. Like there's no or there's no continuation. Like there's no evolution. It's like, okay, like I talk to this girl, I date her for a bit, I go on a couple dates, I smash, and then I'm done. And it's not really immoral. I'm not trying to make it seem like it's a bad thing, but what it does is it puts you in a position now where you're in your late 30s and 40s, and it's like, okay, like you've been doing that for a long time, and you don't get a bad perception or a bad like view on women, but you start to look at them as just like objects to please yourself with, right? Instead of like, working things out with a woman for a long-term relationship or a marriage, you are such in a habit of dealing with women on a contemporary basis, and you see them as just disposable. Like they just come and go, right? And there's, like I said, there's nothing immoral or wrong about it, but I think that eventually I feel like a lot of guys and women, like we just really want like a meaningful relationship with one person. Like I really think that's what we're seeking. Everything we do in life, we really just want meaning and love, right? Like the job you work, you want to obviously stick around. Your desire to stick around is for self-development, growth, learning new skills, and obviously making more money. And in the same sense, sticking around with a woman, you want to develop a deeper connection. You want to obviously improve with your intimacy with that person. You want to learn about that person. You might want to have children with that person. You might want to, do things together, right? And when you're just hooking up with nines and tens, right? You just hook up and that's it. Like there's no depth to it. There's no like learning about that person. There's no, trying new things. There's no like personal growth. There's obviously no children, right? Unless you don't wear a condom, right? But I think you guys get the point, right? And I've been in a relationship for a little over a year now, and I can say that things are going well. Obviously, it's just the first year, but being with someone on like a long-term basis is very fulfilling, right? Like it's not really, and it kind of gives you peace of mind because it's like that person loves you, that person is there for you, right? But when you're hooking up with nines and tens, like really like attractive girls, they're being hit up by like dozens of other guys. They're being hit on at the club by other guys, and when you hook up and you stop hitting them up, like it's over. Like now you have to find someone else, right? And it never ends. That never ends until you decide like you want to commit to a woman. But like I said, with dating coaches and pickup artists, it's all about just vetting, like approaching girls, getting like numbers, getting a rotation going, right? Spinning plates. And then it's just, that's just your life constantly. And it's like, bro, eventually, like, I feel like eventually guys, I mean, I feel like in your 20s and 30s, it's probably cool. Like, hey, I'm going out on the weekend. But I feel like eventually, like, that shit gets old. Like, when you get older, like, think about it, right? When you get into your like 40s, 50s, and like 60s, right? Like, eventually you're just like not gonna want to do that. Like, bro, like, I mean, I don't see a lot of bachelors in their 70s. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm sure there are some, right? But I would argue that the majority of men that are in their like 60s, 70s, 80s, right? Like, they're not hooking up. And it's like, bro, like, you're going to end up being that guy where you're like 60, 70, 80, and you're by yourself because you didn't want to commit because you were sold, not a lie, but you were sold on the reality that like you could just be a bachelor forever, right? And that, you know, the 9s and 10s are the only girls worth like putting your interest, like, you know, obviously taking interest in, right? But like I said, I mean, looks are a big determinant of a successful relationship slash marriage. I totally don't underestimate the value and validity of attraction. But it can't be like just the one sole thing you look at, right? Because a lot of guys will neglect so many like red flags just to hook up. And it's like, that's why you see the problem that we have in society where people are always like complaining about men being one way and then women being another way, right? Like, we can't get along, we can't relate to each other, we can't go deep with each other, we can't trust each other. And obviously, with no trust, with no wanting to deepen your intimacy, without wanting to learn more about the other person, without wanting to love that person, how are we going to continue to raise like children, like good children, like smart, intelligent, strong children, right? Like, you know, I mean, there are some cases of, you know, kids growing up with a single mom that end up being successful and smart, but it's not the majority. It's definitely the exception, right? So I'm not telling you what to do. I don't want to make it seem like I'm some like expert here who's like, oh yeah, you know, just go this way. I'm just trying to explain something from like a realistic point of view, and I think a lot of people really want, like, both men and women, I think we really want like just to relate to each other more. You know, we just want to be more intimate. We want to have families, right? We want to do things together. We want to go on trips together, right? Like, we want to spend time with each other. Like, think about it. Think about when you were a kid, right? Like I remember, like, I was always with my family, right? Wherever I went. And, you know, as I got older, obviously, like, I pretty much haven't, like, I don't see them as much as I used to, right? But, you know, don't you want to have like kids and enjoyable time, like experiences with your family, right? Don't you want to like raise strong children? Some of you guys maybe not. Like, I mean, kids I feel like really aren't for everyone, but I don't know. I feel like a lot of the meaning we get in life as human beings, both men and women, comes from our family, right? Raising children, loving our women, right? I think that's something that we have kind of gotten rid of in the past, like, you know, 60 or 70 years. But I think that I think we really still desire it. We just don't know how to go about it. And there's not a lot of people giving you the right frameworks as it pertains to how to date women and how to look for a woman who's worthy of marriage and being your wife, right? And obviously starting and running a successful family, right? I think that that's very valuable. And, you know, obviously that's what I intend to do with my women over the next like 10 years, 5-10 years. So, like I said, I don't think it's for everybody, but I think I would argue the majority of us are like, we're designed to be with like, we're not designed to just keep like hooking up with the next person every week. That gets draining, right? Like, and you always have to find a new person. You can never go deep with someone if you always have the intention of just like it being a materialistic experience, like a sexual experience, right? Like, if that's it, then you're never going to experience the kind of love you want from relating to another person or woman. So yeah, guys, that's it. That's all. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe. If you guys have any questions, comments, feel free to leave them down below. And as always, I will talk to you guys soon. Peace.